I'm sorry, you are full of you-know-what, all right? It wasn't lost control. It was on purpose. They opened the border to flood the country to bring in their damn votes.
Well, how would they have been able to vote if they weren't citizens?
Excuse me, let me finish. Can I have 1 minute?
By breaking the law.
Can I have 1 minute?
All right, very quickly, Vinnie, and then Gillian.
How many ICE detainees died?
Why are they out observing, just observing, not interfering, observing what ICE is doing?
That's a lie.
No,
That's a lie.
let me finish, Vinnie, let me finish.
You're lying.
Observing, no, I'm not.
You're lying.
I saw it for myself. Observing.
Renee Good was driving her car and barricading it.
Can you let me finish, sir?
Lewis,
can you let me finish, sir?
Yeah, but you're lying.
Could you let me finish?
You're lying. Why was
Could you let me finish? Have you been in Minnesota
car?
recently? Have you been in Minneapolis? Have you watched it?
Man, the PBD lot have done it again. We've got UK journalist Lewis Goodall walking into a debate about IC and immigration enforcement, like he's brought receipts, timestamps, and basic adult composure. And then you've got Vinnie Oshana coming in pure rage mode, tossing out accusations and conspiracy fluff like it's a substitute for evidence. And this is the story: calm, fact-backed reporting versus partisan meltdown theatre. Because when you can't win on facts, you try to win on volume. What do you guys make of this? If you love explosive content like this and want to see more, click that subscribe button.
I've never seen you looking so smart, which may suggest you're viewing this with a new gravity. So, first of all, what's the tie all about? I've never seen one uncensored with a tie.
I just felt, Piers, I had to step up my game. You're always professional, so I want to be professional. And I want to, A, thank you, Piers, for always having me on. And number two, that you're healthy and you're a strong man. You'll be back. Piers, I want to say one thing to you. Do you know what I don't? By the way, everything that Mark said is factually false. Unlawful this, unlawful that, Constitution this. Give me a second, Piers. Do you know what I do, Piers? I carry a 9mm Hellcat Springfield gun. It's on me right now, okay? I protect myself. I protect people that are around me. I was in the military. I was in the Air Force shooting team. I'm that guy, Piers. You want to know what I don't do? I don't take this gun and go to a federal agent's ICE event, which he was on signal, this guy, Alex, purposeful, on signal. It's all coordinated to get in their faces, Piers, and disrupt a legal federal duty. I don't do that. You know why, Piers? I'm not dumb. You don't do that. And by the way, Piers, the gun that he had, little fun fact, is a Sig Sauer P320. All right, that gun, there's a bunch of lawsuits for Sig Sauer. That gun goes off just unintentionally. The firing pin goes off.
Right, but the thing about, Vinnie, on that point, Vinnie, I've seen that report about that gun. We don't know that it discharged itself. There's no evidence that it did at the moment. What we do know from that video.
But Piers.
Hang on, Vinnie,
Piers.
But hang on. Here's my point. My point before you finish. My point about this is, the guy, I've had the complete opposite argument about these situations going back 20 years in America, which is that, I agree with you. I don't think people should be armed to the teeth all the time going to do any things like this, right? And yet this is the very argument used back at me, which is that actually, yes, he had a perfect legal right to carry that weapon and to carry his ammunition. At no stage in any of the videos have I seen him, has he been brandishing that weapon or trying to shoot anybody or pulling that weapon or anything like that. In fact, the opposite. What we see is a pack of 8 ICE officers descend on him, and one of them very clearly reach down and take this guy's weapon out of his holster on his waist and take it away, and he is then shot with the first shot a second after that.
Man, the whiplash is unreal. Because the moment Lewis Goodall starts doing that annoying thing journalists do, actually answering the question with what he's seen, what he's heard, what's on the record, Vinnie just combusts. And I'm sorry, but this is the whole game, isn't it? Goodall stays calm, keeps it tight, tries to walk through the logic. Enforcement has to be lawful, targeted, proportionate. You can deport people without turning communities into scared, paperwork-carrying hostages. And speaking of that, he's not even denying border pressure exists. He's saying, fine, deal with it like adults with reform and rules, not vibes and vengeance. But Vinnie can't handle that. He doesn't rebut the substance. He goes straight to "you're lying," "it's a conspiracy," "they opened the border on purpose." Actually, scratch that. He does worse. He treats evidence like a personal insult. That's not debate. That's performance. And here's what kills me. These guys demand law and order right up until the law requires restraint, and the order includes basic rights. Then suddenly it's all shouting, accusations, and moral panic. Tell me I'm wrong. Seriously, where's the policy in any of that?
Lewis Goodall, welcome back to Uncensored. One of the really weird things about these two shootings in particular is that we're all watching them on videotape. So we can all see from multiple angles what's happened. And yes, we should wait for the investigation. Yes, there might be new things that emerge which change perhaps the narrative. But I know what I saw with Rene Good. And I know what I saw with this latest incident too. And there is no amount of person in authority anywhere in the world who's going to convince me that what I saw was a justified murder or a justified killing. Let's not call the word murder. Let's wait and see where the investigation takes us. But a justified killing. It just seems to me ridiculous overreach, probably by ICE agents who are not trained properly in crowd control of this nature, because the Minnesota police aren't getting involved. And that is a whole different area about federal v state and how they deploy the law enforcement, and about the politics of a blue state and a red administration and so on. But, you know, you're a fellow Brit like me. When we try and get into anything gun-related in America, it's a hot potato. They remind us they kicked us out of America with guns. I get it. It's an issue for America to talk about. We also, when it comes to immigration, we squeal about 40, 50,000 people coming over our southern border when it's estimated 10 million came over in 4 years under Biden. You know, massively, massively larger number of people. And a lot of Republicans say to me, I think with merit, that because Biden made the border so porous, and that there may have been a political aspect to it, because by doing so, he may have then had people in the country who might be more inclined to vote Democrat, as ever trying to shore up support going forward. I don't know, but that's the theory. It makes some sense to me. That these are huge numbers we're talking about, and something has to be done. And if ICE don't do what they're doing, then how do you actually identify and remove people who are there in America illegally, and particularly the ones who commit heinous crimes?
Well, something has to be done, Piers. I would agree with you, and I would also agree that part of the reason this story is taking place is because political oxygen and space was created by the Biden administration. No doubt they lost control of the border, and no doubt politics of this on the left went too far. But no one voted in the United States, and I've not been watching it from afar because I've just come back from Minnesota reporting from there for the News Agents podcast. And I can tell you right now that no one there, including Republicans, voted for what we are seeing. What I saw in Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, was the terrorization of ordinary Americans. Everybody there, particularly if you're black or brown, has a story. They have started in the last 50 days or so, taking out their passports with them, taking out their documentation with them. So scared are they about being accosted by ICE officers. Even legal American citizens are worried about being picked up and detained for however long, going to church, going to the supermarket, picking up their kids from school. No one in the United States, even Trump voters, voted for that. Much less did they vote for the killing of American citizens on American streets. And just to pick up what Vinnie said, look, there is a reason that these people, many of these people, Rene Good and Alex Pretty, completely model American citizens. No criminal record, simply people concerned about what is going on in the community. Why are they out observing, just observing, not interfering, observing what ICE is doing?
That's a lie.
No,
That's a lie.
let me finish, Vinnie, let me finish.
You're lying.
Observing, no, I'm not.
You're lying.
I saw it for myself. Observing.
Rene Good was driving her car and barricading
Can you
it.
let
Why
me finish
are you lying?
that?
Lewis, with
Can you
all
let
due
me finish
respect,
that?
Yeah, but you're lying.
Could you let me
you're
finish?
Lying. Why was
Could you let
she
me
there
finish? Have you been in
obstructing
Minnesota
her car?
recently? Have you been in Minneapolis? Have you watched it? Because I have,
No,
and I
why
can
the
tell
hell
you.
would I want to go to Minnesota?
Right, okay,
Lewis?
because you believe what you want to believe. I'm telling you
wanna
what
talk about
I
the video?
saw.
I saw hold on,
I'm telling you
Lewis,
what I
in
saw
all fairness,
for
in all
myself.
fairness.
And that's the bit that makes my blood pressure spike. Because once you strip away the shouting, we're left with the actual outcome. ICE overreach, plain as day. And actually, scratch that. Let's call it what it looks like on the footage people are talking about. A level of force that does not match the alleged threat. Goodall's point lands because it's not vibes, it's lived reporting. Communities aren't debating immigration in some abstract way. They're reportedly walking around with passports in their pockets like they're crossing a border just to buy milk. Legal citizens, terrified of being stopped, detained, misplaced in the system, for existing in the wrong postcode. And then you get this incident with an unarmed observer, again reportedly, and the official story gets immediately stress tested by video. That's the whole problem. If the government narrative is solid, it survives evidence. If it collapses the moment the footage circulates, then, sorry, you've got a credibility crisis, not a PR hiccup. And Vinnie's response? You're lying. Over and over. Mate, if your best argument is accusing eyewitnesses of a conspiracy, you're not defending law and order, you're defending impunity. What do you guys make of that?
Do you think Renee Good?
I'm telling you what I saw for myself in my own eyes. People are observing. And why are they observing, sir? They're observing because they know that the federal government will lie about what ICE agents are doing. They have done that repeatedly. They do not wait, as any normal government would do, for an investigation. They do not wait for the facts to emerge. They do not wait to interview observers and people who were there. They simply decree almost instantly that anybody involved is a domestic terrorist. We have seen those lies about Alex Pretty exposed for what they are. He was not trying to massacre anyone, as the Department of Homeland Security claimed. He was observing because he knows that the federal government will lie. If these citizens don't come out and do what they do, they know there can be no justice. They know that these ICE agents will be able to act with impunity. And the proof of the pudding in that is what we have seen with Alex Pretty. If those observers were not there, then he would have been shot in the back as he was, with his gun in his holster, and the federal government would have lied about it. We would have had to believe what they said. Instead, we were able to see, because of the peaceful observations of the people there, we were able to see the truth, which is this was a man who was shot in the back, who was posing no threat whatsoever to those ICE officers. And even the reason that they were there in the first place proved to be a lie. That is the ICE officers. Why did ICE say they were there? They said they were there. No, let me finish. They said that they were there to detain an illegal Ecuadorian who was an ardent criminal. What did it turn out? The Minnesota Department for Corrections made clear when they got the name of this person, his only violations, illegal, yes. Was he a violent criminal? No.
Okay, deep breath, because this is the bit people outside the States don't always clock. This isn't just some niche American row about enforcement tactics. It's a global warning label. And speaking of law and order, actually scratch that. What we're watching is what happens when you turn politics into a perpetual emergency, then outsource the mess to heavily armed agencies and vibes. Once the public can see one thing on video, and then be told by people in authority, no, you didn't, that's not governance. That's gaslighting with a badge. Now, credit where it's due, Piers at least tries to steer it back to, so what's the alternative? And that's the grown-up question. But the MAGA-aligned answer is always the same. More force, less oversight. And if you complain, you're basically a traitor. Convenient, isn't it? And as a Brit, I'm telling you, this stuff lands here too. Because the minute normalising state overreach becomes entertainment, every little populist with a microphone thinks they can run the same play. So yeah, evidence-based journalism versus partisan fury. Which one do you reckon scales? Drop a comment, because I'm genuinely done with this crap.
But Lewis, all right, before I go to Gillian, Lewis, but what would you do, right? You're in charge of Homeland Security in the United States. You know millions and millions of people have come in the last 4 years illegally. They're in America. All right, there's a lot of anger about that with a lot of Americans. You've just seen Donald Trump come in with a thumping win on a mandate of dealing with this. If you don't do it the way they're doing it, how do you get these people, identify them, bring them to justice, and deport them if they're committing crimes?
I would do two things, Piers. I would obey the law, and I would pass immigration reform. If you obey the law, President Obama, Vinny's already said it for himself, President Obama was called the deporter-in-chief. He managed to deport millions of illegals. He did that, and he didn't need to do that by employing what is basically a poorly trained paramilitary force operating with impunity, attacking citizens of the United States. And moreover, if you were to do what has long been necessary in America, which is comprehensive immigration reform, the bargain should have always been, the Democrats get what they want, which is a pathway to citizenship, particularly for children who have come over undocumented, but the Republicans get what they want, which is a bolstering of the border. That has been tantalizingly close multiple times. Normally, it's been Republicans, including now the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, when he was in the Senate, who walked away from it because they thought it was a good political issue for them to do. You do not need to deal with immigration by breaking the law.
Can I have 1 minute?
All right, very quickly, Vinny, and then Gillian.
How many ICE detainees died? How many detainees, illegals died under Obama? Do you know the number, Lewis, since you're so factual and you have the history report? How many? 57 died under Obama.
Yes, and you know what else I know, Vinny? You know what else I know? That there was a federal process.
Let me finish. You said You said the Biden administration lost control. This is your direct quote. They lost control of the border.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you are full of you-know-what. All right, it wasn't lost control. It was on purpose. They opened the border to
we're back in
flood
the
the country
conspiracy
to
land,
bring
are we?
in their damn votes.
Well,
And then
how
when
would they have been able
Texas-
to vote if
when
they weren't
Texas
citizens?
excuse me,
All right.
let me finish. When Texas, the governor put a freaking barbed wire, the White House sued him and sent trucks to lift it up to
is
bring these
conspiracy.
illegals.
This
Enough
is
of your
just-
nonsense. And don't
Okay.
talk about churches. You're talking about they're scared in churches. Look what the hell happened recently with the churches where the 2 BLM people came in there and the report just came out that they were telling the kids.
You know what? It
"Your
sounds like
father's
you're
a
saying,
Nazi,
Vinny,
and
that
he
Rennie
deserves to
Good
die
and
and
Alex
go to
Pretty
hell."
had it coming,
Give me a
and it's
break,
disgusting.
Lewis.